Going live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Life is one of the heaviest beams one can try to support. It is known to go through storms that contain heavy winds and downpours. But you are built to stand and not collapse. I challenge you to grow out of your comfort zone. The biggest giant you will ever face in life is your mindset. One of the biggest things that limit us and keep us defeated is the opinion we have of ourselves. When I changed my mind, it changed my life. I didn't just survive, I bounced back better. Bounce 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 back better.
Hello. Happy Sunday. Welcome everyone that's watching. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of LifeStruction with Eric. Today we have a great guest with us, Miss Erika, and she's going to share her beautiful story with you guys. First and foremost, before we start, make sure you take the time to share this broadcast. Hit that share button. If they're not on Facebook, text them. Tell them they can connect with us through YouTube. Same thing, LifeStruction with Eric. You definitely can find us on YouTube. So yeah, take the time to share that. Make sure you stay on all the way to the end. We always have something pretty fun that goes on in the end. But as I stated, today we have a beautiful guest, Miss Erika, and she has one of those stories just talking about, how she went through some obstacles in life, just as a lot of us does. But she pretty much went through something that, for myself, she's the first one that I have met that has went through this. But she has a beautiful story on how it took her a minute to embrace it. But she's actually, she absolutely embraces it. Not only does she embrace it, but she's stepping out and bringing awareness to it as well. So I'm not going to hold up too much of your time. I'm going to bring Miss Erika on. Hello, Miss Erika. Thank you for joining us. Say hello to our LifeStruction family.
Hi, Eric. Thank you again for having me as a guest, and hello to the LifeStruction family. I'm definitely honored to be on today to have this chat with you.
Thank you. So we're just going to jump right into our little discussion. So Erika, tell us where you grew up and what inspired you to take an active role in your community.
So I originally grew up in Cambridge Heights, Queens, so 232nd Avenue, 120th Ave for any New Yorkers in the house. So Cambridge Heights in the building. But then my parents actually moved us to Long Island. So I went to junior high and high school in Baldwin, New York, still on Long Island. And while I was going to school, though, I was involved in this nonprofit. And I wish I could actually remember it. I don't even think it still exists. But what I do remember is one of the activities that we used to do for the holidays was actually go to the Juvenile Detention Center in Nassau County and provide gifts and food and like entertainment for the inmates. It was very disturbing for me actually to see young ladies that were in jumpsuits, even as juveniles. So I always kept that in the back of my mind of like, I just wonder what could have possibly changed their trajectory so they wouldn't have ended up in this particular situation. The other thing that I would say like paired with that is that my dad owned his own electrical contracting business and would also always kind of like take on, I like to say like young boys, like bring them on his truck and teach them different skills. So like I also saw by example how like he was giving of his time and kind of his knowledge and expertise for kids in the community. So I would see the combination of both kind of planted a seed in my mind of like at some point I wanted to be able to do more when I got older.
So you started at a young age.
I don't know. I don't even remember how my mom even found the nonprofit. I mean, I did like extracurricular activities in school, but that one was like a random thing that only like myself and like another friend that I also went to school with. But I remember we did like arts and crafts. But the thing that always stood out was that performance and the song that we performed. It was a dance performance. It was Around the Way Girl, LL Cool J, and they asked us for an encore. So I also remember that. Like they were like, "All right, perform again," and I was like, "Okay." So.
Nice. We're gonna have to get you to move the desk out the way. You're gonna have to redo that at the end.
There'll be no dancing today. No dancing.
Okay, we'll let you slide this time, but we're gonna bring you back, and the next time, we want the full comeback on it. You can do the remake of it.
The remake of it.
Yeah, a little remix. You might be a little slower, but you still got it.
No, still got the motor skills. I work out in the gym, so we still good. But
nice. Good deal. So, where did you attend college, and what was your major?
So, I ended up going to what I like to say is the best at HBCU and the best decision I made in my life. I attended Clark Atlanta University. Okay. And that was actually after going on a Black college tour that was hosted by Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity and AKAs. So I went there like my junior year. We went to Atlanta. We went to a lot of different schools, but what stood out was the Atlanta University Center. So the fact that it wasn't just Clark Atlanta, it was Spelman, it was Morris Brown, it was ITC. So the Theological Center was also there. So like the fact that there was just these multiple schools and like assortment. And then I love that it was Atlanta. My whole thing was I didn't want to go any place where the weather was cold. So I was determined to go somewhere where the weather was hot and it required that my parents would have to get on the plane. Like that was my logic. Like, so you can't pop up because you have to go to the airport. And then I wanted warm weather as much as possible. So Atlanta ended up being a really great decision, as well as Clark Atlanta. And I ended up studying marketing. So I graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration with a concentration in marketing.
Okay, good deal. I love it. Marketing has been something that I always have been interested in learning it. I call myself experimenting with it a lot, but I also, so that's pretty cool. You actually have a degree in it. You just gave me a little fire on that.
That's funny.
Yeah, that inspired me.
Okay, well, I'm here to be a resource.
Definitely. Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that. So your company, Vision Street Research, it provides services to the community and local government. Can you share what you're doing and what services are available?
Sure. So I actually started Vision Street Research after graduating from grad school. So I went to Clark Atlanta for undergrad in Atlanta. And then what I discovered is that same kind of desire to help people was still kind of burning inside me. I believe going to Clark Atlanta, and as people who don't know, like most HBCUs are located in underserved communities. So like, surrounding me were underserved communities, housing developments or housing projects. So I started tutoring kids in math and English language arts in a local community program.
Okay.
It was for community service hours. But then I discovered like I really enjoyed it. So I knew that like, okay, I want to do something more with the community. So even though once I graduated, I did work for a traditional business, I worked for a minority business and did market research. I spent a lot of my weekends, still volunteering at a church, feeding the homeless. I, volunteered at another spot called the Samaritan House that worked with homeless men. So I kept feeling like, okay, I'm still being led to do stuff with the community. So after doing that and then working for a couple of different nonprofits like the United Way in Atlanta, when I went back to grad school, I really wanted to pair my analytical skills, kind of interest in like marketing, with my passion for the community. So I went to Rutgers University in New Jersey and got a master's degree in city and regional planning with a concentration in community development and affordable housing. So coming out of that, I came out, unfortunately, into a pretty terrible job market, but knew I wanted to go back to Atlanta. So I went and worked for NeighborWorks America in their Southern District office. And coming off of that, some opportunities were presented to me, which then led me to start Vision Street Research. So I had a woman who owned a business. Her name is Kelly Burton, who kind of mentored me and walked me through the process. So I started Vision Street Research with kind of blending those two worlds. So the analytical world, wanting to provide data-driven decision-making, being able to democratize data, so making it more readily accessible, but then also wanting to be able to serve the community in some aspect as a for-profit organization. So the key services that I offer are project management. So I've been hired by local nonprofits, both in Atlanta and in New York, to serve as their project managers for local initiatives or even for some traditional market research projects, as well as doing some surveys for folks as needed. So some local community surveys or short surveys for smaller organizations, and as well as putting together training. So being able to organize trainings from beginning to end while also serving as the project manager for the overall initiatives, I would say are the key services that I provide. And just as an aside, I love supporting minority-owned businesses, particularly Black women-owned businesses. So a lot of stuff that you'll see and hear today, and if you go on my social media, is just how I found a way to support them both through the pandemic and prior to, in either as a patron or in social media marketing or in collaboration. Like I've just really had a passion for it. And I think that was still birthed out of being the daughter of a man that owned his own business, in addition to having a regular 9-to-5. I saw the value in it.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I mean, we chatted about a week ago, and you're just busy. I mean, you're busy, but I mean, you're so humble, and you just seem full of energy. You know, I know so many people, they spread themselves thin, and they just be, but I just love it. You know, you keep a smile on your face, and you know, when I hear you talk, it's just like you are doing a lot. You know, and I just love people that make a difference. You know, like you just said about you try to support, you know, the female Black-owned businesses and things like that. I mean, and that's big. That's big. You know, a friend of mine, we were talking the other day, and we were talking about how so many of us start small businesses, and it's like we don't have anyone that support us.
Right.
You know, and you can have a celebrity that comes out with something, and we don't question why they put a price tag on it.
Right.
We just go and buy it. We just go and buy it, you know, and pretty much within a year, 18 months tops, they get all of our money, and you don't even see that brand anymore. You know, then you have some of our wonderful people, you know, that we know out in our community, and it's like, well, why is it costing that much? You know, and it's like we get no support. So
Right.
I really love how you threw that out there, and you said, you know, you really support, you know, a lot of females, you know, with the Black-owned businesses, because they definitely need it. They definitely need it, you know.
Right.
And I know, you know, Kevin told me your name carry a little weight, so you know they have, so they have great support. You know, having you out there supporting them, definitely great support. But real quick, what are some improvements you'd like to see in our communities in the future?
So I would say definitely coming, you know, off of, I guess, the height of the pandemic, I would like to see improvements as it relates to health disparities. I know what I saw here locally in my own community is that COVID-19 really kind of put a flashlight onto disparities that were already existing, particularly in Black and Brown communities as it relates to access to health, or being more greatly prone to experience health issues. So being more likely to have high blood pressure or diabetes or high cholesterol, whether it be because you live in a food desert, meaning not really having access to healthy foods, or there's an income issue, or if you're unfortunately due to where you're building, you know, living in multi-dwelling and they're not being a lot of access to resources, or being in places that are more industrial. So unfortunately, I even learned this when I was in grad school, when we were doing some like spatial maps, that sometimes buildings are put over sites that may not have been like remediated. So there's all these negative externalities. There's all these metals, all these things that people are inhaling. So then it leads to greater propensity to have things like asthma and other like respiratory issues, right? So like those things seem to always happen more than likely to low income and Black and brown communities. And I feel like, again, like COVID just exacerbated it when you look at the rates in comparison to non-Black and brown communities. So I'm hoping there'll be greater improvements to that. So like more fresh fruits, people being held more accountable, like even when people open up, whether it be like these little corner stores or they open up grocery stores, that they're priced at a way that people from various income levels can afford it, and that they're given access to it in their local communities. Your zip code should not determine your economic or health outcome. And I feel like at this moment it does. You know, you live in the wrong zip code, and now like your kids go to schools that the books are old, or, you know, the food has bugs flying around it, or it's rotting. Like, whereas, you know, you live in some other zip code, it could be a neighboring zip code. It's completely opposite experience.
Right. Right.
So that's definitely something that I'm hoping that'll change. The other thing is that I'm also hoping that there'll be greater access for young people, particularly young Black and brown folks, to participate in the political system, and that we're able to build a pipeline so that we see more people that represent our thoughts and views and concerns being the ones that are actually representing us, whether it be like, you know, a friend of mine or somebody that I know. But I just feel like the lack of that pipeline, we unfortunately end up with the same type of people. I mean, I'm saying this across the country, like representing us, and they don't represent our issues, even if they look like us. So I'm not even like, you can't even assume that because somebody is the same background. What is the saying? Like, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. Like, it's unfortunate, but it's true, right? Like,
yes.
I can't just vote for you because you're Black or because you're a woman. Like, I have to see what your platform is and feel like it's in line with what I care about. And if it is, then I will support you. But you don't just get my vote because we share the same race. It's not fair.
Yeah.
You know, I gotta hold you to the same level, but I also feel like we don't often have a lot of options of that either. So it's either somebody does vote for you because, like, well, at least that's the Black candidate, or people take themselves out of the voting system altogether. And that to me frightens me, because when you remove yourself, in essence, you voted for the opposition. You know, like that's how it kind of comes across, of like, okay, you decided not to vote at all. Like, then you kind of voted for the person that we didn't want to get elected because they're counting on you sitting at home.
Right. Exactly.
That's what we saw with the census. Like, I did a lot of collaboration and outreach to get people to participate in the 2020 census. And even still in New York, we still lost one of the congressional seats. And I want to say it was by 98 people. So 98 people didn't fill out the census. 98. Right. So it just makes the point that literally every vote counts, but 98 people didn't think it was important enough, and we lost a seat, and we can't afford to lose seats. We already don't have enough as it stands now. Like, we want to be one of the states that are gaining seats, not losing our voice when decisions are being made. So I would just say, like, I'm just really hoping that more folks try to participate, especially in the local elections that are really impacting how their tax dollars are being made. Because that was, even though I haven't owned property here in New York, I was a homeowner in Atlanta, and I always paid attention to the decisions that were being made when there were the local elections happening, because I knew that that's how my tax dollars are being spent. You know, even if you don't have kids in school, it doesn't matter. Like, the way you're being taxed and the types of businesses that you do and don't see outside of your window in your community, that's all determined by the people that you elect, whether it be like it's the school board, it's the library board, it's your local legislator, it's your assembly person. Like, all of those positions matter. And by not participating in those elections too, it hurts all of us, because that means that a lot of times the people that we may want to remove get to stay. And they could stay for quite some time.
Right. Yeah. That's definitely one of those instances where every vote counts. You know what you? Wow. Yeah. Okay. So let's switch gears here. In 2016, you were diagnosed with alopecia. For those who may not know, what exactly is alopecia?
So, I mean, in the more technical terms, it's that your immune system is attacking your healthy hair follicles to the point that it stops them from growing. So, if you have hair on your head, which most people who end up having it have had hair on their head, your hair falls out. Now, it doesn't mean that your hair won't grow back, but it is an autoimmune disorder that currently does not have a cure. And there's different types. So I was diagnosed after noticing spots and they were very small when I had locks. So I had locks that were down to kind of the middle of my back that I had been growing since 2012. And my loctician discovered the spots. And we did some, I'll say like natural regimens, and they kind of went away, and she told me to manage my stress, and all was well with the world. And then things started shifting, and I saw them again, and I'm thinking, okay, something is up. So I asked somebody that I knew here, and she said, I think you may have alopecia. And I didn't know what it was either. Like, I don't even know what that means. So she told me, go to the dermatologist and let them formally diagnose you. And then see what they say. So I went, I researched, I'm like, let me find out what alopecia is. So, I see that it's autoimmune disease. And then I learned that what I actually have is alopecia areata, which is called like patchy hair loss. So it wasn't like all of my hair was just coming out. It was these like round circles in, primarily in the back of, hi Pamela, in the back of my head. That, I mean, I could see them, but probably the average person couldn't see it because I had a lot of locks. So at the time it was just like, I just want to know what this is because I don't want this to get worse. Google is a gift and a curse. You Google something and you see like, oh, like this isn't that bad. Then you see a photo where somebody like has all these bald spots. So now I'm terrified of like, I don't want that. But the dermatologist says, yes, that's what you have. And then she like terrified me. I mentioned this on my blog. She like has needles ready on the side of the counter. And I'm not even afraid of needles, but if you think about the idea of somebody sticking a needle in your scalp, I don't think anybody listening to this would be like, hey, sign me up. Like there's nothing about somebody putting a needle in your head that sounds remotely exciting. So I let her diagnose me, but I was not prepared to take any real action. I just wanted to know. And because I had kind of really started the journey on looking for natural solutions to anything that was wrong with me, I was just like, I'm going to go back. I was under the care of someone that was real big on like nutrition. And she's like, oh, that's what you have. Like, you go online, there's like an onion shampoo rinse. They're telling you to put onions. And I'm thinking about the smell of onions. Like you rinse your scalp with it. And it supposedly works. I did strongly consider it, did not do it. It was the onions for me. I'm like, I just don't want my head I don't want my head to smell like onions. But I kind of just tried to make some adjustments. Unfortunately, though, what was also happening was my dad had been diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. So it was like me trying to control my emotions, my stress. I've now relocated back to New York. I was in Atlanta. So there was a lot of change that was happening. I would say like at a rapid pace, that it was really hard to control. So this happening then kind of makes sense as I've learned more about the condition. But I really didn't do anything until till later in 2018. Because I mean, really in 2017, it kind of got progressively worse. But so did my dad's condition. So it was like things were getting worse with me as things were getting worse with him. And for me, it was like, well, I can't really control either one of these situations because it seems like it's a cause and effect. So the spots didn't get like super big, but then like I also broke out in eczema. And for anybody that doesn't know, eczema is technically defined as like skin asthma. And I had psoriasis when I was a kid, which is another form of like allergic reaction to your scalp. So these things to me just felt like they were being triggered by stress. And it's like, okay, once I'm able to get this under wraps, everything will calm down. But unfortunately, once I got into 2018, like now my locks were physically coming out. So it was no longer just like these patchy, traditional like alopecia areata patches. It's now like coming out in my hands. So I went to another dermatologist that was local, that was recommended by like a local research here on Long Island. So shout out to Black Long Island, where people were able to make recommendations about different Black doctors that they've gone to. So Dr. O.C. Tutu was someone that was well spoken about. I mean, I think it took me almost 2 to 3 months to get an appointment with her. So that should show you like she was somebody that was definitely in high demand. But once I got there, she said, yeah, you definitely have, it's definitely alopecia areata. But instead of leading with, hey, let me do some injections in your scalp, she said, you know, let's start with some topical ointments. So I started with some topical ointments, which did, you know, work for a time being. And we went from that to, we eventually did do some injections. Like my hair grew back, but the injections I want to say were every couple of months. So they weren't as necessary at the time. Because again, they were still smaller spots. And she gave me some recommendations like increase eating asparagus. So I was learning about like dietary stuff that could also help promote hair growth. And really with the injections, what they're trying to do is re-stimulate those hair follicles that I'm saying, like your immune system. The way it's explained to like to a kid is like your body is rejecting your hair. Like your body's allergic to your hair is the best way. Like when your body's allergic to something, like how does it respond? Some of us may break out in a rash. Like in the case of alopecia, it's like your hair comes out. Like this is your body's response to this allergic reaction. So, you know, all the spots clear back in. And then 2019, some other, like, I was having some other stressful stuff going on in my life. But now, like, over 50% of the locks are gone. And I mean, when I say gone, it's like, I know you had locks before. It's like at the root. So the hair is gone. And then any of the hair that was surrounding it is also gone. So it's like bald. It looks like as if I had shaved my head. It's like, well, how does your hair fall out like that?
Right.
So suddenly, like you're looking up and you have like this beautiful head of locks, and then it's like bald. I was like, oh my gosh. So I went back there and she was like, okay, now it's over 50%. Like we're going to have to do the injections more frequently because the topical ointment won't work when it's that much of the area is gone. So now I have like a little like fro, like I would say like mohawk with locks. So all of this is gone. And it's just like a couple of locks and like some in the back, to the point that when I used to go to the gym, somebody thought I was just taking on a new hairstyle. Like, oh, that's nice. And I just kind of chuckled like, yeah, we're in the gym. I'm not really about to sit here and explain this because I haven't quite accepted it myself. So sure.
Right.
This is why I'm rocking this new style. You like it. I love it. Great. So now we're doing the injections. But the thing is, so now it's like the bare, you know, now it's bare scalp. And literally, if you think about a needle going into your skin, they're like drops of blood that I'm seeing. So she had like this like vibrator thing that I would have to hold in my hand. And she was like, I'm sorry. But like she's going through my head, just sticking steroid. Again, trying to stimulate the hair follicle so that the hair will hopefully grow back. But by April, we were at like the wit's end. I had locks hanging on by like bobby pins, and pretty much at work. I was working in a government office. I had mastered rocking headscarves. So you could see the locks in the back, but it just looked like, again, Erika's just being extra Afrocentric in her conservative government job. You know, I had a scarf, thanks to my mom, to like match most things that I wore. So it was like, I was good to go. Like, okay, well, we're matching or whatever. But I remember like having like a do-rag underneath a scarf one day at an event. And it, you know, when you move your head, stuff shifts, particularly if you have locks, because, you know, like it's rubbing up against the hair.
Right.
So it shifted. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to be able to see the do-rag. And the do-rag did not match my outfit. And I was like terrified, but somebody captured this great photo. It's like me laughing with a bunch of people that were part of the event. And again, nobody else noticed it, but now I'm subconscious about it because my locks have been falling out at like a rapid rate, like in meetings and like the conference room, somebody's coming back and handing me my locks and being like, oh, these are just, they thought they were extensions. And that's when I was like, I don't know how to explain this to somebody because I'm mortified and you're handing me back my hair, right? It's not like when you walk down the street and people say like, hey, it looks like somebody's weave or something fell out, right? Like you see that and you're like, oh, like a track fell out.
Right.
Well, right. That's different, but it's like, that's fake hair on your hair. I'm like, no, it's not fake hair. Like you're handing me my hair.
Right.
Like, no, it's no big deal. And I was like,
yes, it is.
Yeah. Like, I was like, thanks. Can't really explain this to you right now either. Like just not in a good headspace, but thank you. But it just kept happening so much that then I was paranoid. Like I was paranoid to be on the street and maybe look down and my lock be gone. And it gave me a lot of anxiety. So finally, like in the beginning of April, I went to the dermatologist and I asked her, I was like, hey, so you think I could just shave it so then it's just a couple of locks in the middle? Like I'd just be comfortable if I just had like a mohawk with locks. Like I'll just cut off the back. And she was like, Erika, I don't think it's going to work. Because as you know, locks also have weight. So the thing is, like now that my hair follicles are so compromised and my immune system is attacking them, like the weight of the locks, even though there weren't that many left, they weren't going to survive because it was just too much. So she was like, no, you're going to have to shave them off. And I was like, what? Like, this is not happening. Because I couldn't imagine like not having hair. But what I said was, all right, I'm going to do this. But then as soon as I do it, like, then I'm going to come back to her and talk to her about whatever treatments, like natural stuff, because I want my hair back. So in my mind, I was like, I want my hair back. I'm going to get my hair back. So I'm going to do this right now, but this is temporary because I'm getting my hair back. So that was my whole motivation of like, this is temporary. My hair will go back and all will be well. So yeah, I then just, had to sit with, okay, I have alopecia areata. I'm bald, but I'm going to, go back to the dermatologist and she's going to find stuff that will help my hair go back. Even like, I mean, I still have the locks in my house. Like literally the person who shaved them off gave them to me in a bag and they're like, oh, maybe they could reattach them. But I knew like that would probably be a bit much. Like, yeah, my hair may grow back, but again, the weight of the locks themselves, to me, it didn't seem like it was going to work for my scalp.
Right.
It could possibly just trigger the same thing. And then, you end up with like traction hair loss, which, people tend to have when they have locks, possibly sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, it kind of that whole journey just became also like supporting Black businesses. I'm like, what am I going to do now? Like, I need to do something about all these feelings that I have. So I had a barber, Black female. I went and got some earrings because I'm like, all right, now I'm not gonna have hair on my head. Like, you got to do something. Like, even if you have a cute face, like now I got to think about accessories. Like, what else? Because my other thing was like, I don't want to walk around and feel like I look like a little boy. Like that was literally legitimately what I thought. And people were like, why would you think that? I'm like, because there's no hair on my head. And I have like an apple-shaped head. And I'm like, I don't want somebody to mistake me for a boy. So like, I need real big earrings. Like they could be, I can OD on earrings now because I don't wear a bunch of makeup. So I'm like, all I'm going to have are like the accessories to kind of like accentuate my face or, getting my eyebrows done. Like I just had like a hyper focus. Like literally I went to go get a facial. Then I had a photographer to take some photos and I was literally texting somebody that I had only recently met. And I was like, I think I'm going to start a blog. Here's some things I'm thinking about. So literally my friends were like, hey, what about this? What about this? What about this as a name? Okay, here's some hashtags you can use. Like it was literally like in the matter of days. And then, so began the journey. I did learn though, for alopecia areata, there's 2 other types that are still a possibility. For me, however, because I shave my head, one is less of a concern. So it's called alopecia totalis. So that is where people like I shave my head, so my hair does grow back somewhat. But there are people who they just lost all of their hair. Their hair, if it comes back, it falls right back out. But like there's just no hair on their head. And then the other alopecia areata form is called alopecia universalis, in which case people have like no body hair. And some people may say like, oh, that sounds great. But what you don't realize is like that means you have no eyebrows, no eyelashes, no hairs in your nose, which again could be annoying, but think about not having them. They're capturing moisture. Like your nose would just be constantly running, right? So like, they're just like, oh, I wouldn't have nose hairs, but it's like, right. But these things have functions in your body.
Yes.
So they're just having no body hair at all. And some people are born like that. So they never have body. I met people who have never had body hair, just nothing. So that is still a possibility. I mean, it doesn't happen to everybody, but it still could happen because again, once you have the autoimmune disorder, like as your body changes, as life changes, you know, these things could happen. People have said like after they had kids, it happened, or after maybe they went through menopause, that then they went from just having totalis to universalis. So I feel like I may have answered a whole bunch of things, but it kind of flowed with the story. So sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, I love it. You're making my job easier. Yeah, you're making my job easier. But one of the things that we talked about when we first chatted was when you first cut off all your hair. And I never had looked at it that way. I thought about it. But when you said it, I was like, You said when you would like go out to dinner or would be in other people's company, you know, you had a few people question you, you know, like, were you sick? You know, was it cancer? Yeah. You know, and I'm like, I have never thought about that when I see, because I mean, we have some beautiful black, you know, as I told you, everybody can't rock, you know, a cut like that. Everybody can't do it, but we do have some beautiful sisters that can rock it. And when I see it, I just feel like they're just embracing their beauty. I never had looked at it as, you know, first of all, for me, you're not going to look too healthy if you had a hair loss because of like, you know, a very, very life-threatening illness, you know, so it is a difference. So, I mean, I would never question you about, dang, is it cancerous? Is that why you cut it? But tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it was funny. Like, I feel like with every type of hairstyle or whatever, you get.
Are you there?
I'm still here. Are you here? Oh, no, Eric, you froze.
We froze here.
Can you see me? I feel like we're in the Matrix.
All right, give us one moment for the technical difficulty.
Okay.
Okay, I think she's back.
All right, can you hear me, Eric? Eric, you're frozen on my screen.
I can see you.
Okay. So what I was saying was I feel like for women,
I can hear you. Yeah, and you're frozen on.
Oh, that's weird. You're frozen on my screen, but I can hear you as well.
Come on. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. You're just frozen. The screen is just frozen.
Okay, devil, you're gonna get out of here and stop trying to mess up my stream. Right? Yeah, get out of here, devil. Leave my stream alone. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You're moving there. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're good.
Please, thank you guys for staying on. I'm not sure what happened there. But
Right.
yes, we were talking about
people's reaction. So what I was saying
yes.
was like I would say like as a woman, like as you change your hair, what I've observed is like people's response to you has been different. So, you know, when I had shortcuts, I would get one response. When I got locks, you know, then it became like, hey sis, like this is the way people greeted me. Like it was just interesting of like people's perception, I guess, of you. I also equally got people asking me if I smoked weed, which I took offense to. Like, just because I have locks, that means, you know, I partake in marijuana. Like, no,
Right.
doesn't mean that, you know, like it doesn't mean that I'm part of a particular culture. I just have locks. So I felt the same way when I shaved my head of like, I don't know what people are going to think, but I actually did not think anybody was going to think I had cancer. That was also the furthest from my mind. So when, you know, a couple, and I would say it was mainly men that were like, hey, are you sick? Like, what? Am I sick? Like, what do you mean, am I sick? And they're like, I mean, do you have cancer? And I said, no, I don't. I was like, I actually have alopecia. Now, there were some people that knew what it was, but other people were like, well, what's that? So then for me, it became a teachable moment to then explain to people, saying, hey, let me explain to you what alopecia is. And perhaps when you see people, like, maybe consider that versus considering immediately that somebody is sick. And the other thing is, it's also how you ask the question. So like I've had this discussion with other people who have alopecia, and it's like people ask questions that already can be triggering for somebody with if they have cancer or if they have alopecia. So when you say like, why did you shave your hair? Like, do I know you in real life? Are we
Right.
friends? Are we family members? Like that, the question in itself, you know, can be triggering and kind of be offensive of like, not the why, just saying, you know, first maybe leading with like a compliment, like, oh, you know, it fits you really well. You know, was it something like I went someplace recently, a woman said, was it your choice? That is different, right? You phrasing it like that, then you're opening up the dialogue to figure out exactly why versus like, why'd you shave your head or why are you bald or, you know, just again, like it just makes people feel, it made me feel uncomfortable. So being able to explain what it is always a good thing for me, like to be able to make people more aware. And I know like from community of people that have alopecia, like that's the thing, like people don't want you to assume that they're sick. Cause then it's like it almost like you're coming from a place of pity and there's nothing wrong. But the other thing is some people have had very traumatizing experiences with this. So when you lead with that, it also triggers stuff inside of them. Like, yeah, I may not have cancer, but this can be stressful. This can give you anxiety. It can make you feel depressed. It can make you self-conscious about yourself. So you shouldn't make those assumptions and be careful about your words. So like use your words carefully. Like when you're even asking someone if you see that somebody is bald, because there are also people that are bald that don't have anything. They just chose to shave their head. And there's plenty of women that have just chosen that. You know, if they say that you carry a lot of like baggage and stuff in your hair, some people just shave their hair to start over. Right? Kind of like a therapeutic, like cleansing thing. It has nothing. They don't have cancer. They're not going through chemo. They don't have alopecia. So that's why it's just better to just come from a place of being open to learn and just asking people, hey, like, was it your choice or what prompted it? Because I have plenty of people that, again, just thought I was making a statement, right? That's what I think, because like I wore the headscarves. They're like, your bald head looks beautiful. And I mean, my most fearful thing was actually going to work. And I think I mentioned it to you when I was talking to you of like, I'm going to walk in this building and somebody's going to say something triggering, and I'm going to lose it. And then I'm going to have to go home for the day. Like that was my mind. Like, I'm going to snap and then I'm going to be like, I'm going to excuse myself for the day and just go home. But I actually prepared a Facebook post. And at the time, a lot of my coworkers and my boss were friends with me on Facebook. And I just kept praying that they saw it before I walked in. And literally the first person I saw when I walked in was a lady behind the desk. And her first words were like, oh my gosh, you look beautiful. So it was like a calming feeling came over, but that could have gone a lot of different ways. Like it could have gone left. And then once I did explain, you know, I learned that there were male coworkers that had, you know, had alopecia. Like people were very open. But I mean, thankfully, people didn't lead with, you know, what's wrong with you or, why did you do it? Or thankfully, nobody at my job said this. I mean, I will say a lot of people on Facebook said this of, reciting India Ari, who I love. And I love the song, I'm Not My Hair. But what's the quote? Like, too soon. Like, don't say to somebody who just said, just got up the guts to shave their head because not choice. Don't say to them, like, you're not your hair. Yeah, like, you're not crazy. There are a lot of things that none of us are, but like some things are just too soon to say. Because again, it's triggering. I didn't have a choice. A lot of people who shave their head or do stuff with their hair, you're making a choice. I didn't have a choice. Right? Like my hair was gonna fall out either way. I just expedited the process so that I controlled when it came out versus waiting for all my locks to fall out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's like an inner sensitivity that I've also recognized that some people just don't have. And maybe it's because people don't know what to say, but that's why I say it just be better just to ask questions, like be inquisitive.
Definitely.
Because most people aren't offended by you asking questions as long as you're not leading with like a presumptuous statement when you're asking the question. Just like, hey, I would just love to learn, like, what led you to, to shave your head? Because most people didn't know me when I had locks. So you don't even know why I'm right. If you knew if you knew me beforehand when I had locks, then yeah, you may be like, oh, like you had such beautiful locks. What happened? And I quickly say, I have alopecia areata. My hair fell out.
Right.
So I made the choice to shave it. But even like I told you, even still, I wanted it to grow back. So I did kind of venture down the path of more treatments. I took a bunch of different medicines. I mean, because there's no cure, they still do clinical trials like they do with anything else. A lot of the medicine is for something else. So a medicine for cholesterol had been found to help people with alopecia. So I took that. Then a medicine for rheumatoid arthritis, which I don't have, they found help people with alopecia. But, it's like watching a commercial for medicine. Like when I read the side effects to my family, my mother literally said, like, do you really have to take this?
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, it can cause so many other life-threatening things. So it's like, how much is this worth to you? Because taking this medicine, like you need to continue taking the medicine because once you stop taking any of these medicines, your hair falls back out. It's not like take it for a little while and then suddenly your hair says, you know what, we're going to act up right. We're going to act right. You good, girl. You don't have to take it anymore. It's like literally you stop taking it and you're re-traumatized again where all the hair would, come back out. And I just found the last medicine that I took, which was it's called a JAK inhibitor, is the type of medicine. So that one is, those types of medicine are ones they found are able to attack like the what's going on in your immune system to help re-stimulate the follicles, as well as higher doses of vitamin D. But you can't also take high doses of vitamin D for an extended period of time. So my dermatologist was like, you're going to take this medicine, which I took for 30 days, and take this higher dosage of vitamin D. But you can only do the vitamin D thing, I think if it was like 10 days at a time, and then it had to be like 10 days on, 10 days off, because too much vitamin D is not good for you. But the combination, and I would venture to say, I think more of the vitamin D did lead to my hair growing back. I mean, a good portion of it on the top, but I experienced horrific side effects. So I had to make a decision for myself. Like, is this really worth it? And do I want to take this for the rest of my life? Like, I don't take any medicines. It's enough to take vitamins. And I quite frankly try to buy capsules and dump it in a smoothie. Like, I don't like pills. And I kind of always vowed that I would not be taking medicine for anything, right? Like, I feel like there's always some sort of natural solution that doesn't involve taking pills. Like, you can get a lot of nutrients from foods that we eat. So I'd rather go that route. So after 30 days, I stopped taking it and I kind of just, let things roll. I actually went to the barbershop and had him shave it off. And again, I felt amazing. That's the thing. Like, anytime I shave my head is when I feel amazing. It's going through these other time periods where I've let my hair grow back, where that no longer feels like me. It feels awkward. It feels uncomfortable. And then it's always the fear of, will my hair fall out again? And would I want that to happen? Like, would I want to have to subject myself to the trauma again?
Right.
Hair growing.
Right.
and then just falling out again. I mean, and now it would be without the lock. So it's not just a lock. It's just like your hair, falling out on your pillow or whatever the case may be, and then it being gone anyway. So I just choose to shave it myself. So I have clippers. I mean, I do go to the barbershop sometimes. I have a barber that I like that's in my neighborhood, and he also knows. So like he appears on my blog as well. He's super cool, Cyrus. But yeah, other than that, like I just kind of I decided to own it and just focus more on awareness,
Right,
and kind of sharing moments. I mean, I did a lot of video stuff to share
and
what I was going through.
that was going to be my next question for you. So you kind of, touched it right there. Pretty much after realizing you had the condition, and like you just stated, owning it and embracing it, you started, basically you found it, joy at the alopecia. Can you tell us more about that? And two-part question. Also, what would you say to others that's battling alopecia?
So I would say Joy After Alopecia was literally birthed in my car, the car ride from the dermatologist on, April 2nd, 2019, where I was trying to figure out how I could deal with it. So I would say more so it was therapeutic for me. That was the intent initially of like, I just need to get this out because I need to figure out a way to deal with it. But what I realized is by sharing my story, it was an inspiration for other people. So that's kind of what it's become. Like I would say, like in year one, it was definitely a lot of just kind of sharing some of the stuff that I've, shared here today in terms of the initial experiences with the needles, the treatments, learning about like triggers. I mean, if you look online, a lot of things say that it can be triggered by stress. But I mean, a lot of things can be triggered by stress. Like you could break out in a rash. Like I have eczema. I could break out in eczema because of stress or anxiety. So like, not to say that that's not true, but I mean, considering it is an autoimmune disorder, I think what it is once you have it, it's kind of like something sitting dormant in your system. And then things in that are going on in your life can kind of bring it to the surface. And I think trigger an episode, I guess, for lack of a better word. Like that's what I've observed, at least like for myself. In terms of what I would say to someone else, I think figure out what's most important to you. For me, shaving it was the best route, but I know other people do wigs. I had an experience with a wig when my hair fell out suddenly because of an allergic reaction to like synthetic hair, like years before, like over a decade before. It was very hot for me. Like I played tennis, I work out a lot, so my head was like sweating and it was uncomfortable for me. But I know for other people, like the idea of shaving their head, or like you made some people make a comment like, well, at least you have a good head for a bald head. And it's like, I don't know if it's not you saying it, but sometimes it could be like, was that a backhand compliment? Because like for other people, it makes them more self-conscious about the idea of shaving their head. It's like, I don't have the head for it. Or I've heard people say like their family pressured them and said like, you need to get a wig. Like, no, you don't have a good face for a bald head. So I feel like people sometimes are pressured also into a wig or some of these other things that may also make them uncomfortable. So like you have to figure out what's right for you, but it needs to be right for you and kind of not right for, or it makes other people feel comfortable because they're not the ones dealing with it. And I don't think that's fair for them to project their personal opinions on you. Because it's like, I knew somebody that they wear the wig at work. But, other than that, they don't have it. And they've had alopecia since they were a kid. So I just think it comes down to personal preference. But I think part of it is just the way people judge people a lot of times, particularly if you knew them when they had hair. And I think, the idea of like women walking around with a bald head and people feeling subconscious and not, it does, it can impact your self-esteem. But you should own it. I mean, I learned so many people who had bouts with it, like from kids that I would have never known, right? They're rocking wigs or whatever they have going on. And they're like, oh, I have alopecia. And I was like, you do? Who knew? Like so many people just kind of live in silence with it. Thankfully, through me doing my own research, I found a foundation and kind of another community that was helpful. And that's the National Alopecia Areata Foundation. I went to their conference the first year, so June of 2019, and realized like, oh, a lot of people have this. So kids are born with it. So seeing a kid with it, it changes your perspective. I mean, I'm an adult dealing with it. I think I'm better able in some ways to deal with it. But, a kid being in school, that could be challenging, and it's challenging for the parent. I met a woman at an event here locally who had a daughter who has it. And she was like, oh, can I take a picture of you? Because I want to show my daughter that, like, this is something she can look forward to. Like, there's it's an adult woman that is, doesn't have hair.
Right.
She's fine.
Right.
Versus trying to explain it to like your 6 or 7 year old.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
they're like, I want a wig, or, them feeling subconscious about being bald, growing up and being bald. So,
yeah. And, I can imagine it, but at the same time, I can't imagine it, because I mean, for me, it was by choice. When I was a little kid, my mom used to cut my hair, and she didn't use no guard, no nothing, but just like skank, so pretty much, just we call it a Caesar, just a little, so I had the little Caesar going on at like 7, 8 years old. So, I go in the grocery store and the little kids like, he got a bald head, and, we go to church and my friends, they laughing at me, and I'm like, but that was by choice, but still they picked at me. So I mean, I know it has to be just horrible for, a little 6, 7-year-old kid to go through this, because I did know I could grow hair. It just was when it was time for, when it got nappy, because we didn't have all of the juices, back in the 70s that we have now. So it was nappy. So, when it got nappy, she just skinned it off, and I knew it was going to grow back and I was going to have my chance to be nappy again, but just to have kids pick at me, it was horrible. So, it's just to have a kid that can't grow hair.
Right. So think about it, can't grow hair. And a lot of the kids that I met or saw at that conference, they have universalis. So they also don't have eyebrows. Right. So for another kid that's never seen that or experienced it, in that case, like you do look sick to them. Yeah. Right. Like, why does this little kid, girl or boy, why don't they have any eyebrows? Right. Because these are things when you take for granted on your face that kind of define some things. So like eyebrows, eyelashes, like things that other people can see. So in the absence of that, if someone's never been exposed to it, they think that you're sick. So I know for some people that, NAFT, as it's called, like their www.naf.org, they have several resources specifically for kids because that is a very challenging time. I know for some of the kids and parents that I saw speak during the conference, what they'll end up doing though is like when the kids enter school, or if this happens, like maybe they have here and then they lose it, they'll ask the teachers, like, can the kid and their parent actually speak in front of the class to explain to the kids at the beginning of the school year because of exactly that fear, right? Like, because if you just send the kid to school, of course, kids are they're kids. They don't know what they don't know. So being able to like speak in front of the class and explain that it's a condition and, what's going on, like they're not contagious. They don't have cancer. But yeah, it was definitely very interesting. I sat in a group with some women, even older women, who said that they got like picked on and teased and, maybe didn't have enough resources to get the best type of wig. So kids like would jump them on the way home from school. Cause like, and this is somebody saying as a teenager, Because again, like you're different, and for some people, like different means we're gonna pick on you. It's just another way to pick on you. So that's why I say, like, not that having it as an adult makes it easy. I just think less of that happens. I mean, I was in some Facebook groups where there were adults saying they were getting picked on at work, and I almost wanted to inbox them and have them tell me where they work. Like I almost felt like, can I fly there? Like let me come to your job and talk to whoever's bothering you, because I don't understand how another grown adult is like talking about you. I mean, and then again, like I'm saying, it affects people's self-esteem and can very easily send people into depression, because like it's like being in school, but now you're an adult at work, right? Where people are just talking about you. You hear them whispering about you, pointing at you, laughing at you. That impacts your quality of life. And
Yes.
I mean, that's not fair, because again, this is not something you chose to have or signed up to get. It's just something that you now have, and you're trying to deal with it. So you don't need the extra layer of people making you feel bad about it.
Right. So. Yeah. Well, Erika, I just commend you. I know a little more about your story than you kind of revealed today. But I commend you because you went through a lot. Real quick before we finish up here, leading up to you even experiencing hair loss. You went through, the period where your father, became ill.
Correct.
And it wasn't too long from when he had the procedure done that he passed away. Correct. And I know that was a hard time for you. And then, for a while, you thought it was stress because of what happened to him and how quick it happened. They basically told you he didn't have to. Did you say 2 years?
No, so the type of, just for everybody listening, the type of cancer is mesothelioma. So it's as a result of exposure to asbestos. And if you think about like how things were, I would say back in the day, I mean, my dad died at the age of 75. There weren't these like OSHA, like all these laws that we have now about having like masks and things can't be coated as, those things unfortunately did not really exist. But for that particular cancer, the life expectancy from diagnosis to death is 18 months, and my dad lived 17.
Mm-hmm.
And that was so weird. So like somebody asking you like, do you have cancer after my dad? And
So that was like all type of emotions brewing there. And it was like, keep me near the cross, Jesus. They about to get cussed out. Yeah. Exactly. I get it.
And the funny thing is he went through chemo and his hair didn't fall out. So like there was also a part of me, I think when my hair started falling out, was like, how he went through chemo and his hair grew in. Like he had the little cap bald spot, but he got more hair. I don't even have cancer and my hair falls out. Like it was just like, really, really, God, like this is what we're doing right now.
Yeah. It's, it was, when you when we spoke about it, I was like, wow, it's, and I kind of shared my story with you as well, with my nephew, but it's something that it's hard to explain. So of course you're very stressed. It's a stressful situation when you're going through it. Right. And then, of course, after the casket closed shut, all of those people that was there, it's kind of like they scatter. So now, you're dealing with it on a day-to-day basis, and you're kind of by yourself most of the time. You may have one call here, one call. So yeah, we're definitely stressed. We're praying to push through each day. So when you start experiencing this hair loss, of course, the doctor thinks it's stress, because the first thing they're going to ask you, well, have you had any traumatic experiences in your life?
Right.
So, to hear your story on, how it all played out.
Right.
No, it's a total shock to you. But as you told your story, you learned to accept it. You learned to embrace it. And, I just commend you, for not only embracing it, but also bringing awareness to it. You speak about the conferences. You were telling me the other day about how powerful, those conferences are. Mm-hmm. And, you do so much in your community. And I just thank you beautiful story of rebuilding your life after a traumatic experience. That's what LifeStruction is all about. So I'm so honored to have you on today to tell your story, and just keep smiling, because I mean, it's just like I say, it's beautiful when you go through something like that and you still realize, no, I still have a heartbeat. I still
Right.
have a pulse, and, my dad would want me to be, much bigger, than what I am. So,
Right.
you can lay in that sorrow and sit there and say, what if, what if, what if, or, you can throw a little oil on it and
Right.
blossom from it.
Right.
So you did amazing job, and like I said, you are very busy, so I thank you for taking the time out, to come on today. And I'm like, I just keep learning new stuff about you. I heard you done gave Venus and Serena a run for
Oh
their
my
money on the
gosh,
tennis court.
lies.
I hear you. I hear you're a beast on the tennis court. So, I look forward to seeing you on ESPN soon.
Not happening. Not happening. Not happening.
I hear that you're amazing in poetry. So you didn't say not on that one. Okay.
No, because the tennis thing not accurate. Yes, I play tennis, but no, definitely not trying to go toe to toe with any of those greats that you just named. But yes, like spoken word, I think just being able to use some sort of creative outlet. So from the blog to spoken word to singing, like I've just tried different things to to express how I feel, or to also just to pay homage to my dad. So
very nice. Well, would you be honored to share a little bit of poetry with us today?
Sure. Let's see. I haven't done this in a while, so let's see. Pain and loss is how it started. Locks dropping a year after saying goodbye to my dearly departed. From yeah, babe to her bee stings. Without God, I couldn't have got it through this thing. Faith and trust coming together like an alloy. Daily focus is to find my joy. There we go.
I love it. I love it.
So, thank you again. Thank you again, Eric, for this platform.
Definitely. I mean, you definitely educated me. And we have great viewers. They've been posting over comments the entire time. I think you gave great knowledge to a lot of us that hadn't been, knowledged up on this. Miss Sherry wants to know, what is your blog name?
So it's Joy After Alopecia. So as you can see, my backdrop, Joy After Alopecia. So it's joyafteralopecia.com. And then it's the same thing on Instagram, which is where I post most of the inspiration. So because I was inspired to find joy after alopecia, that's kind of my lead in, right? That joy after alopecia is. So whatever that is becomes. And, in the last year, it's been about, I would say since the pandemic, especially, finding my joy, like each day, like there's something that allows me to find joy. So finding whatever that is for on a daily basis. So today I would say like this would be my joy. Like it was cool to talk to you, Eric, and to your LifeStruction audience to share my story. Yesterday it was spending time with my family. So, each day is something different, but I've just learned like there's always something that can, you can find joy. And then the other has just been protecting my peace. Hence the do not disturb.
Yes. I love that shirt. Yeah.
Do not disturb is like my new friend, I would say, on my phone. I think it's the most probably underutilized feature.
Yeah.
It does allow you to protect your peace and to, at the end of the day, create boundaries, healthy boundaries for yourself. And that's what I realized. Because while I don't think the alopecia was caused necessarily by stress, I know that it's definitely an agitator and a trigger. So as much as possible, for me not to allow myself to be triggered or to, you know, have an eczema breakout or have an anxiety attack, I have to protect my peace every day, all day.
I hear you. I hear you. Beautiful. Same here. Same here. Are you iPhone or Android?
So I'm technically part of both worlds. During the pandemic,
Okay.
I did have to come to what some people may call the dark side. Other people have tried to explain to me that they're glad that the bubbles, I don't know, they're not green or blue. I lost track. It was like, I'm glad that your bubbles are the right color now because you people that have Android are the wrong color. But I still like my LG stylo. I'm not getting rid of it. So I coexist. I will say that. I do love the camera and the custom emoji though on my iPhone. I will say that. The fact that I was able to create an emoji that has big gold earrings, nicely laid eyebrows, and a fresh baldy, and I have one that has a head wrap, that gives me joy every time I get to use them. So
beautiful. Beautiful. The reason I was asking, because iPhone, I saw last week with the little thing that they released, they're in the next update, they're actually going to have a do not disturb for texting. So basically, when you don't want to be bothered, you can go in and hit the do not disturb button. So when somebody texts you, it's going to send them a reply and say, I'm not responding to anyone right now. So I'm like, that's a beautiful thing, because sometimes you don't want to cut your phone off, but it blocks out.
The thing. Yeah, but that's the I mean, I think partly though, the message, I don't know, like that can help. I think it can help with certain people. So I think if you have like, there's some people that may have like clear boundary issues. I think that message sends a very clear message to them. Like, you know, fall back from what you know, worry about yourself, as my alopecia friend Gabriel says all the time. Like, go do something with yourself. But then I think for other people, I don't know, like that one I would probably use differently. I mean, I appreciate it because it just means I found that I've also gotten a lot of like spam calls and things in recent years. So I feel like Verbs allows me to force people to leave a voicemail. And then if somebody does text me, I can see it. But for the most part, like, you know, between being in group chats and things like that, those things tend to be on mute because I found that like they can be easily distracting when you are trying to focus on things. So it's just like, you know, you have to make time to, if you want to be on technology or be on your phone, because if not, you could find yourself between texting and social media. You could be on the phone all day and be easily distracted and quite frankly, easily triggered at the same time. And that's what I've just learned for myself. So it's like, I don't want to be triggered or distracted a lot of times. So it's like, I'm trying not to be both. So like, you know, they pop in and out of social media because sometimes people post stuff that triggers me. Or, you know, the same thing with people's text messages. But I mean, I definitely feel like the do not disturb button. Somebody using do not disturb on everybody, Lord. But I mean, I think it's a cool feature because I just think because of the pandemic, though, all jokes aside, I think because of the pandemic and everybody was at home, whatever boundaries may have existed before, because people assumed that you were going to work, I felt like they were removed. So people are just texting you like, well, you at home, but it's like, okay, but somebody's at home working, right? Or whatever they're doing, they don't want to talk to you. And, you know, it's no shade. They just don't want to communicate. And you should respect that, right? Like, don't force me to communicate with you if I don't want to. Like, I have your number too. Like, I'll hit you back. But I feel like that's probably why, like, Apple was like, we're going to try to help people help themselves. Like, you could send this message to them and let them know, like, I'm not responding. So you send me like 15 million text messages. I'm not going to respond until I'm ready. So I feel like Apple is helping to promote boundaries. And I think boundaries are important.
Yeah. So the only update that I don't like, they said also they're going to make the iCloud where if you pass away, your family members will have access to your iCloud. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't want people to see something.
Isn't that like a privacy? Yeah,
I'm like, hold on. I'm like, I hope you have some type of agreement in there that I can opt out of that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Why would you? That's very suspicious. Like, that should violate some law. I don't know. There needs to be somebody to research that. There has to be some law that that people can use, because I wouldn't.
Right.
Who would want that? Yeah, I don't
Right.
think anybody would want that.
Right. But real quick, my mom, one of my biggest fans, she's on every week, and she said, "Work it, girl. Keep working it. She loves it." So
thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah, but once again, like I said, I thank you so much for coming on today. For anyone that's not following me as well on Instagram, you can follow me _ Eric Winfield. I post more on my Instagram than I do Facebook. So definitely go on there and follow me so you can keep up with me during the week. Also, if you haven't purchased my book, definitely go and purchase it at MyLifeStruction.com. If you haven't purchased it, definitely go up there, get this LifeStruction. It'll bless you. If you already have it, be a blessing to somebody else. Go and purchase it. Also, I do have a book campaign that I am doing as well. I speak of it every week. With the book campaign, basically what I'm doing, I'm trying to purchase 1,000 books so I can go to different facilities. And as I go out and speak at these facilities, I'll be able to leave 10 or 15 books back around at each facility. So I have a link on my website, which is what I just posted up there, that MyLifeStruction.com. You can go in there, click on that campaign. No donation is too small. So far, I think we are up to like $465, trying to get to $5,000 so we can purchase 1,000 books. So anyone that's willing to do that, you can definitely click on that link and get that done. And also, you can also purchase these T-shirts. Basically, when you purchase this shirt, that as well goes towards the book campaign. So my life is under construction. So you can purchase those on the website as well, or either if you don't have PayPal and you want to do the Cash App, Zelle, or Venmo, all you need to do is inbox me, and I'll tell you how we can go about doing that. But yeah, also once again, definitely go and follow Erika at Joy After Alopecia on Instagram. And when I tell you she don't post a lot, but her storyline, she's always rocking some very, very dope T-shirts. So that was one of the things that pulled me in on her. But also, other than the Instagram, is there any other ways that people can reach out to you?
I would say Instagram is the primary place. I also, if you go to my blog at www.joyafteralopecia.com, there are links to in each of the different posts to YouTube videos. So I have a YouTube channel where I kind of talk in more detail about whatever the particular topic is. But I would say I'm more present on Instagram is the easiest way. I mean, people tend to DM me on Instagram, but you're right. Like I said, like if I'm having a triggering day, I'm not going to be on there. So I pop on and off, but I'll definitely respond when I am on there. And yeah, I try to, be very intentional when I'm posting stuff about, things that I'm going through, or, promoting like shirts or other, Black owned businesses. Like the backdrop that you see behind me was created by a Black woman named Danielle, and her company is called Dexty Denim. She does amazing graphics. She designed my logo and designed the backdrop. So, that's more so like whatever it is, I can guarantee you some part of it, a Black owned business was part of it. I mean, I just really go out of my way. Like now that I see that you have shirts, like, please believe I will be buying a shirt. Plus I love what it says on it. I have shirts, and I take actually a portion of the proceeds from the shirts that I sell go to NAF to support research, hopefully for like a cure and support families who have kids that have alopecia. So that was my whole thing of, I'm selling the shirts to create better awareness, but then also to go back to an organization that's looking to support research and finding a cure and other support systems for people that are living with alopecia, because we try not to say suffering. So living with it and trying to help them live a better life with it. So
okay, perfect. Well, we'll talk after this is over with. But I have the perfect shirt that I'm going to send you.
Okay.
Perfect shirt. I'll get your information.
Okay.
I'll definitely get it sent out to you.
Okay.
Yeah. But thank you guys so much for tuning in today. This was a beautiful discussion. Amazing story. And once again, a story about how, we are faced with obstacles in life, but we are not defined by them. We found a way to trigger past them and create something beautiful. And just like my story, same story, we made it through an obstacle, and now, we're making it a part of our daily purpose to reach out and help others. Maybe different. It's a little bit of difference, but not a lot, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter as long as you're helping someone.
Right.
So, I definitely thank you for that. Shout out to my associate producer, Mr. Kevin Ricks, for always being Johnny on the spot. He's a man behind the scenes that makes this stuff happen on Sundays. So shout out to him. Once again, we thank you guys for tuning in. And just keep in mind this week, just keep in mind and remember, every morning it's mandatory that you slide out of bed, ready to build. Some days you may need a jump start to power up that smile, but once that smile is ignited, it will send a signal to your heart. Go throughout your day smiling from the heart. It's mandatory. It's a mandatory tool for your LifeStruction. With that, you guys have an awesome week. Be blessed. And until next week, stay safe. Blessings.
Bye.